Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Twyla Williams, and I love research. This week, we are going to talk about action research. We're going to discuss that particular design. If you're a doctoral student exploring qualitative method, action research just might be what you need because this approach, it empowers you not only to study a phenomenon, but it also gives you the opportunity to bring about some change in a specific context. And if your topic surrounds this, then maybe this is a design that you might be interested in. And if your chair is adept at doing this, you might want to think about it. So today we're going to discuss some principles of action research, talk about different processes or characteristics, and how you can effectively implement it in your research if you choose this as your design. So as always, we're going to start with talking about what does the actual design mean. So what is action research? Well, it's a qualitative design, and it is a collaborative and iterative approach. It focuses on social change. And through the active participation of both the researcher and the participants. And so it's underpinned by that. Action research is rooted in the principle of research that it should be illuminated through an issue that it's trying to bring more information to, but it should also contribute directly to improving practice and addressing problems within a community, within an organization, or especially within an educational setting. Okay, and so we're thinking about some changes there, and we're thinking about some actual improvement of practice. Unlike traditional designs, action research, it involves this cycle of planning, acting, observing, reflecting. And so it enables the participants to engage actively in the process by doing this. And so we can talk about some core principles of action research since we're talking about that and describing it. So one of the biggest things that is attached to action research is what we call participatory collaboration. Okay. And in action research, this basically emphasizes the collaboration between both the researchers and the participants. And this particular partnership, it fosters somewhat of an environment of trust, which you definitely need, and it empowers the participant to share their insights realistically and validly and truthfully, ensuring that the research is grounded in the actual experience. Okay, and so that's what we want to do here. We need to also think about reflexive practice when we're thinking about an action research design. It's at the heart of this type of design because the researchers actually engage in this continuous cycle of reflection and analysis. And the effectiveness of actions and the progress made towards achieving the change. All of these are reflexive type of attributes that we need to think about. The reflection is what's going to inform future cycles and adjustments in this practice. And so that reflective practice piece is key. We also can think about that cyclic process, which I talked about before. Action research follows this cyclic process of planning, acting, observing, reflecting. It's commonly referred to as this action research spiral, or we call it cycle or spiral. And each cycle is supposed to build upon the outcomes of the previous cycle. And it allows for you to adapt those responses to the emerging issues. So that's one of the attributes of action research. Action research also, remember, it focuses on a change. And remember, a change is not a solution. A dissertation is not a solution-based vehicle. It's not. We add to the body of knowledge. And so don't get it confused here. The action research should foster and it should give some context to future change, but it's not actually providing a solution. The primary goal of like I said, of action research is to implement or to give information about a change based on identifying the needs within a specific context. And that's what your goal is here. So whether addressing educational processes or practices, societal issues, or organizational practice, action research aims to generate some actionable knowledge, okay, that they can use to lead to some tangible transformations. That's the hope for this. When we're talking about action research and collection methods, there are some things that we can think about that are commonly used as data sources. And of course, we always have this wonderful interview. Conducting one-on-one interviews with the participants allows the researcher to gather this rich qualitative data that we're looking for. And these interviews can be semi-structured, providing flexibility. That's the difference here. There's some flexibility in these interviews because the perspectives you have to give some flexibility when they're talking here because you want to understand what this actionable change can be, but you also need to maintain focus on a specific area. And so it's something that you need to be creative with these interviews. They're just a little bit different than other interviews. You can also look at focus groups. Focus groups will facilitate discussing or the topic among participants. It allows them to collectively share their thoughts and experiences. And having a focus group can reveal some group dynamics. It can give you some consensus. It can even give you divergent opinions to look at that might not necessarily evolve in a one-on-one interview. And so focus groups can be done. Observations, direct observation of participants in their natural setting. This always provides valuable insights into the behavior, into interactions, and the context surrounding the phenomena that you're studying. So observations can also be participant or non-participant, depending on the researcher's level of expertise and involvement. So we can think about that. And then we can also think about document analysis. This is another data source for action research. Analyzing documents such as minutes, project reports, reflective journals, all of these types of things can help to provide some more context. And it's going to complement the data that you've collected through your interviews and focus groups and observations. And this method can add some understanding to the situation. It just gives another layer. So when we're talking about action research, we need to definitely go into that data analysis piece, okay? And there's a certain way that you're gonna analyze data as you do in most designs, but there's some analysis techniques that are most known to be used with action research. One of them, of course, is the thematic analysis, which we've heard a lot about. And this is where we identify patterns or themes within qualitative data. And we read through the data multiple times to characterize recurring themes and ideas that emerge, okay? You should know that by now. We've said it enough times. And then we have the coding process. And this is where you develop a coding framework to organize the data according to the themes that align with your research questions. And so coding can be both inductive, which allows the themes to emerge naturally, or it can be deductive, where you have these existing theories that guide your actual analysis. So that coding piece is important. Another term that we use with action research is called dialogical reflection. That's what they call it. And so we engage in these dialogues, and we have to definitely make sure that that reflection given from the participants is validated and that our interpretations of them are actually what the participants want to say. And so this collaborative analysis helps to ensure that there's accuracy and that there's authenticity in our findings. And so it brings the perspectives of the participants into the analytical process to ensure that you're on track when you're actually analyzing things. And then, of course, there's that iterative refinement throughout the action research cycle that we talked about. We're going to continually refine your understanding of the data in light of the reflective practice. And so they kind of go hand in hand. This iterative process, it fosters those deeper insights and it improves the quality of your final outcomes. And that makes sense because you've gone over it several times before. So we talked about the actual analysis. There are some things that we can look at when we are actually implementing the study and some things we need to look at when we're fashioning what the study is going to look like. Of course, when we're identifying the problem, we need to make sure that it's a very specific challenge or issue within the context that we're planning to study. We need to collaborate with the stakeholders and make sure that it's actually a problem and that it's relevant and that they actually share the belief that it's a problem that needs to be researched. So that's very important. And it's a little different than other designs. When we're formulating our research questions in action research, we need to make sure that those questions focus on the inquiry, on the understanding of the actual problem, and maybe explore some potential solutions or potential things to look at, not giving a solution, but what might work. This is something you'll do with your chair to make sure this is done correctly, if they're adept at action research. But we need to make sure that those questions are still open-ended and that they're very collaborative in nature when we do those. For action research, we also need to, of course, engage the stakeholders, which is a little bit different also. So we need to involve them from the offset, and let them know what's going on. You need to collaborate, and with this engagement that you have with them, it's going to ensure that the research is genuinely participatory on their end as well as yours. And it allows for this type of co-construction of the knowledge that you're hoping to get from this particular type of design. And then lastly, we can look at the cyclic action. Okay, so we need to implement what that cycle is going to look like. And so that's a lot of planning, execution. How are our interventions going to actually be rolled out or documented as we get these emerging insights? And so you need to know how you're going to do that. You're going to collect data at each cycle. You're going to analyze it, and then you're going to adjust. And so how are you going to document this process? It needs to be extremely meticulous. You need to think about that. When we're presenting our findings in action research, there's some other things that we could, discuss. When we're presenting findings, there's like several ways we can do this here. First of all, you can do a narrative presentation, and this is when you actually do the storytelling technique to present your findings. You share with the participants, say, and their voices and their experiences through quotes and narratives, and you illustrate this journey of change and the insights that you've gained from it. Okay, and that's the narrative presentation. You can also do what we call an action plan documentation, and that's when you just plan a clear documentation of the action plans implemented. What are the outcomes that you achieved while doing the study, and any recommendations for future actions? And so it's like a project plan in some ways. In the practical orientation, this will align with the goal of giving this general actionable knowledge or contribute to that in the future. Another way that we can present findings is through our implication for practice, which we should be doing anyway in all dissertations. But this is where we discuss the broader implications of our findings for practice, policy, theory, and we're going to highlight this and how your research contributes to this ongoing discussion in your field, and what are the lessons that can be drawn from others. And so that's an implication for practice type of presentation of findings. And then lastly, we can also present our findings through reflective insights. Okay, reflective insights. And so this is where we include our reflections on our role as a researcher throughout the process. We share any lessons that we learned, unexpected changes, surprises, any insights through the collaboration, which would demonstrate your growth as a practitioner, as a researcher. Okay, so that's another way of doing that, and very important. So in conclusion, qualitative action research is a very transformative approach. It's about change. And that change not only aims to understand, but to also help to enact a positive change, whether it be in a community or an organization or educational setting. Okay. And as you embark upon doctoral research, think about this participatory, reflective, and iterative nature of action research. It's really good characteristics to have in any type of research, but it's especially true when we're talking about action research. So if you're wanting to do action research by involving stakeholders, reflecting on your practices, focusing on actionable outcomes, you can contribute meaningfully to empowering those in the research context that you're involved in for your topic. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope that this session sparked your interest in action research and hopefully provided you with some additional information that you may not have known about it before. And maybe you can use these in your future research endeavor. So again, I am Dr. Twyla Williams. Until next week.